March 15th, 2025. Jeremy Clarkson opens Sunday Times, reads government policy document, stops cold, new powers for local councils, compulsory purchase authority, expanded scope, agricultural land included. He reads it again, can't believe it. I could wake up one morning in the very near future to be told by West Oxfordshire District Council that they now own my farm. Compensation? He looks at farm name, diddly squat farm. Diddly squat. That's what he'd get. Nothing. This is a story of how Jeremy Clarkson discovered Keir Starmer's government planning biggest land grab in British history. How Labour decided councils could seize farmland. How British farming faces extinction. Not from inheritance tax, not from regulations, from direct government confiscation. Start with what Clarkson found. What nobody was talking about. What media ignored. Labour's Levelling Up and Regeneration Act 2023. Passed quietly. Implementation beginning 2025. Buried in legislation. New compulsory purchase powers for local councils. Previously, councils could force property sales for specific infrastructure projects. Roads, railways, schools. Clear public need. New powers, vastly expanded. Economic development, housing need, environmental improvement. Translation, councils can take your land for almost anything. Wind turbines, solar panels, housing estates, green projects, and farmers, prime targets. Why? Because farmland is everywhere. Because it's underutilized, because government wants it for other purposes. Clarkson saw this immediately, understood implications instantly. His diddly squat farm, 1,000 acres in Oxfordshire, perfect for housing development, or wine farm, or solar installation. West Oxfordshire, District Council could decide they want it. Compulsory purchase order, forced sale, below market value. Truly astonishing, Clarkson wrote. This is Robert Mugabe territory. Zimbabwe, 2000. Mugabe launched fast-track land reform program, seized white-owned farms, redistributed to supporters. Result, agricultural collapse, food shortages, economic devastation. Zimbabwe went from breadbasket to basket case. Clarkson's comparison deliberate, provocative, accurate. Land confiscation never ends well. History proves this repeatedly. But Starmer doesn't care about history, doesn't care about consequences, only cares about agenda. What's agenda? Clarkson spelled it out clearly. Build wind turbines or houses for the dingy people. Wind turbines. That's net zero obsession. Cover countryside in turbines, regardless of efficiency, cost, or impact on communities. Houses for dingy people. Illegal immigration crisis. Boats crossing channel. Government needs housing for arrivals. Farmland perfect for mass housing estates. Farmers irrelevant. Food production secondary. Government priorities take precedence. Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, championed these powers. We need land for housing. We need land for green energy. We can't let private ownership block progress. Progress, that's what they call it. Seizing private property, destroying family farms, eliminating British agriculture. Clarkson wasn't having it. Column in The Sun, directed furious. Warning, this could be the end, not slow decline. Actual end, government taking farms directly. He explained mechanism, how it works, how farmers can't stop it. Council identifies land they want. Farmland usually issues compulsory purchase order. Farmer objects. Goes to tribunal. Argues against seizure. Government almost always wins. Tribunal sided with public interest. Farmer forced to sell. Valuation? Below market. Compensation? Inadequate. Farmer loses. Farm loses income. Gets fraction of value. Meanwhile, council builds whatever they plan. Wind farm. Housing estate. Solar installation. Original use. Growing food eliminated. Farmer bankrupt. British agriculture shrinks, multiplied by thousands of farms, repeat across country. Result, food production collapses. Britain already imports 48% of food. This policy could push it to 70%, 80%, higher. Dependence on foreign food, vulnerable to supply shocks, vulnerable to price manipulation, vulnerable to political pressure. But Starmer doesn't care. Neither does Rayner. Neither does Rachel Reeves. They care about net zero. They care about housing targets. They care about political agenda. Food security? Someone else's problem. Future government's crisis, not their concern. Clarkson saw this clearly, articulated it forcefully. Obergruppenführer Starmer. Deliberate provocation. Nazi reference. Authoritarian leader seizing property. Critics scream. How dare he? Comparing Starmer to Nazis. Outrageous. But Clarkson stood firm. Government seizing private property without consent. What else do you call it? Historical comparison apt, uncomfortable but accurate. Then came his call to action, his message to farmers, his revolutionary proposal. Time for British farmers to become more French. French farmers don't protest politely, don't write letters, don't attend peaceful rallies. They blockade. They destroy. They make life impossible for government. January 2024. French farmers block Paris. Tractors everywhere. Roads impassable. City paralyzed. Government backed down. Withdrew hated policies. Farmers won. Why? Because they made governing impossible. Because they demonstrated power. Because they refused to be ignored. British farmers too polite, too law-abiding, too respectful of authority. Clarkson wanted to change that. Wanted farmers to fight back. Actually fight. His suggestions provocative, deliberately extreme, designed to inspire. Spray slurry all over Labour Party's rural offices? No, too obvious. Obergruppenführer Starmer would prosecute instantly. Better idea. Burn every single avocado and every pint of almond milk that comes through British pork-chouts. Genius. Target what urban Labour voters care about, their ethical consumption, their lifestyle choices. That would get their attention in Islington, Clarkson wrote. Absolutely true. Islington, Starmer's constituency, home to Labour elite, obsessed with avocados, almond milk, ethical shopping. Imagine ports blocked, avocados burning, almond milk destroyed, trendy cafes running dry. Islington voters would scream. Pressure on Starmer, pressure on Rayner, pressure on government. Suddenly farming policy becomes urgent. Suddenly they care about rural communities because their lifestyle disrupted, because their consumption threatened, because inconvenience reached them. Clarkson understood this perfectly. Urban Labour doesn't care about farmers, but they care about themselves. Disrupt their lives. Get their attention. Force them to listen. Revolutionary thinking. Agricultural warfare, economic sabotage for political goals. Would it work? Would farmers actually do it? Clarkson didn't know, but he planted seed, started conversation, made farmers think differently about resistance. Meanwhile, government pressed forward. Compulsory purchase powers activated. First orders issued. May 2025. 3 farms in Somerset Council wanted land for wind. Farms CPO issued. Farmers fought. Tribunal ruled for council. Farms seized. Families evicted, generations of farming ended. Wind turbines planned. June 2025. 2 farms in Norfolk. Housing development, same pattern. CPO, tribunal, seizure. Food producing land converted to housing estates. British agricultural capacity reduced. Clarkson watched each case, documented each seizure, warned constantly. This is it. This is the end. Not theoretical anymore. Actually happening. National Farmers Union issued statements, protested decisions, called for policy review. Government ignored them. Starmer said difficult but necessary decisions. Rayner said progress requires sacrifice. Sacrifice. Easy word when it's not your sacrifice, when it's not your farm, not your family's heritage. Clarkson kept writing, kept warning, kept proposing resistance. If you lose your farm to compulsory purchase, don't go quietly. Make it cost them. Publicity, legal challenges, media attention, make every seizure a national scandal. Some farmers listened, started fighting back, not with slurry or burned avocados. With lawyers, journalists, publicity, each CPO became news story, each family interviewed, each farm's history documented. Public started paying attention. Government seizing family farms? Really? That's allowed? Most people didn't know. Media hadn't covered it. Government kept it quiet, but Clarkson's columns changed that. His warnings reached millions. His provocations sparked conversations. By summer 2025, compulsory purchase became political issue. Not major issue, but growing issue. Conservative opposition seized on it. Kimi Badenoch, Labour's land grab destroying British farming. Reform UK made it campaign centerpiece. Nigel Farage. First they tax you, then they take your land. This is tyranny. Liberal Democrats worried about rural seats. Ed Davey. We need housing, but not at expense of food security. Pressure building, questions in Parliament. Debates, challenges. But Starmer held firm. Policy necessary for housing crisis and net zero targets. Reeves backed him. We cannot let private land ownership block national priorities. Rayner most aggressive. Farmers had it too good for too long. Time for land to serve broader public interest. That quote enraged Clarkson. Farmers had it too good. We produce your food, we feed you, and now you call us privileged? His next column, volcanic. Angela Rayner thinks farmers are spoiled. She lives in government house, eats food we grow, enjoys security we provide, then calls us privileged. He continued, she wants our land for her projects, her housing estates, her wind farms, her vision of Britain. Well, here's my vision. Angela Rayner eating nothing but avocados and almond milk, because that's all you'll have when you've seized all the farms. Savage, pointed, effective. Quote went viral. Farmers shared it everywhere. Clarkson speaks for us. Finally, someone fighting back. This is war. It was war. Government versus farmers. Starmer versus Clarkson. Urban agenda versus rural survival. September 2025. 15 farms under CPO. More coming government accelerating program, Clarkson calculated. If current rate continues, 500 farms seized by 2030, then 1,000, then 2,000. Extrapolate further, British farming ceases to exist by 2040. Not slow decline, actual extinction. Through direct government action. This is Robert Mugabe policy, Clarkson repeated. State seizure of productive agricultural land. He asked question, what happened to Zimbabwe when Mugabe took the farms? Everyone knew answer. Collapse, starvation, devastation. That's Britain's future under Starmer, Clarkson warned. Food imports, price spikes, dependence on foreign nations for basic sustenance, but at least we'll have wind turbines and houses for dingy people, so that's all right then. Sarcasm dripping, fury evident, warning clear, October 2025. Another protest, farmers back in Westminster. Larger than before, Clarkson attended, gave speech, amplified by thousands. They took our tax exemption. We protested. They ignored us. They increased regulations. We complained. They ignored us. Now they're taking our land directly, using compulsory purchase. What's next? Crowd roared. Fight back. Resist. Protect our farms? Clarkson continued. I said, become more French. I mean it. Polite doesn't work. Respectful doesn't work. Time for different approach. He didn't specify what approach, left it ambiguous. Let farmers' imagination fill gaps. But message clear. Escalation necessary. Traditional resistance insufficient. New tactics required. Government response? Starmer called Clarkson dangerous. Said he was inciting violence. Clarkson shot back. I'm inciting resistance to government theft. If that's dangerous, so be it. Government stealing farms is violence. Property seizure is violence. I'm just responding. Perfect framing. Turned tables completely. Government became aggressor. Farmers became defenders. Public opinion shifting? Polls showed 58% oppose compulsory purchase of farmland. Even labor voters uncomfortable. 43% oppose policy. Traditional labor values against property seizure without consent. But Starmer wouldn't budge. Ideology trumped polling. Agenda trumped popularity. We are building better Britain. Sometimes that requires difficult decisions. Translation. We're taking what we want. Your opinion doesn't matter. December 2025. Clarkson wrote end-of-year column, retrospective and warning. 2025 year British government decided farms were disposable. Year food production became secondary. Year Starmer chose wind turbines over wheat. He listed farms seized, families displaced, generations ended. This is the end, he concluded. Not the end of one farm or 10 farms, the end of British farming itself. Unless farmers fight, unless they resist, unless they refuse to go quietly. 2026 will decide. Do we accept this or do we fight back? I know what I'm doing. Burning avocados, blocking ports, making Islington uncomfortable. Who's with me? January 2026. Today. Now. Present moment. 20 farms under CPO. More coming. Government accelerating. Starmer emboldened. Clarkson still writing. Still warning. Still proposing resistance. It's the end, he keeps saying, unless we stop them. The cameras turned a diddly squat farm. Clarkson's 1,000 acres. Still his. For now. The cameras turn to Westminster, Starmer's government, planning next wave of seizures, compulsory purchase orders, land grab, state confiscation, call it what it is. Clarkson sees future clearly. Britain without farms, food from overseas, countryside covered in turbines and housing estates. Robert Mugabe would be proud, he says. Starmer's doing what Mugabe did, seizing productive land for political agenda. History repeating, lessons unlearned, catastrophe approaching, but Clarkson won't stop fighting, won't stop warning, won't stop proposing resistance. Burn the avocados, he says. Make them feel it, make them care. Revolutionary, radical, necessary. Because government stealing farms, because British agriculture dying, because food security vanishing, and nobody stopping it, except maybe Clarkson. And farmers he's trying to radicalize. Become more French, he says, or become extinct. Choice clear. Resistance or death, fight or surrender. Clarkson chose fight, chose resistance, chose to make government's life impossible. Will farmers follow? Will they escalate? Will they actually burn the avocados? 2026 will answer. This year, now. Starmer's land grab continuing. Clarkson's resistance intensifying. It's the end of British farming, unless it's not. Unless farmers fight back. Unless Clarkson wins. Unless avocados burn. The war for Britain's farms. Led by man who never wanted to be farmer. Now, desperate to save farming. Jeremy Clarkson versus Keir Starmer. Diddly squat versus Westminster. Agriculture versus agenda. It's the end, Clarkson warns. Unless we make them stop. Time running out. Farms being seized. Future being decided. Revolution or extinction. Those are options. Clarkson chose revolution. Burn the avocados. Block the ports. Make Islington hurt. Only way to save British farming. Only way to stop the end. Question is, will anyone join him? Answer coming soon. 2026, this year. Now, the end of British farming.